Hello, everybody. How you doing out there? James here. You know, this was this I had a topic I want to talk about tonight. Um, and pro- and it really dawned on me, why are we seeing so much problem with race relations, and why is it that when it comes to particularly black people, why are there probably be some people probably who are non-black probably wondering, why is that this keep happening? Are they, you know, um, are they just making this up, or are they just, is it something that maybe they taking certain things the wrong way or anything? And you're seeing a lot of racial incidents across the country. And why you seeing that is because people are, you, I can't understand how, if a person don't if a person don't like a person simply because of the pigment of his skin. I just don't understand that. If you don't want to be around a person with a different perspective of someone with a different purpose of skin, why? What is the big deal? Excuse me. What is the big deal? I never could figure out someone's prejudice. I see all these so-called Karen incidents online, and um, I don't understand that. I was watching a video earlier about how, even when it comes to black Americans that in this country, that even not the ones who committed crime, not the ones who break any kind of law, but simply just living their life and trying to be a productive citizen in society like any other people. And I come to conclusion, it seemed like people are just, they gotta find someone to pick on. They gotta find someone to feel like they have to put their foot on. And whether they have the authority, end up being an authoritative position, is really something. Is almost mind blowing. Whether it's on a job, whether it's trying to find a place to live, whether you got a place in life where you're pretty good at it, at where you live. And I was hearing the case with the black couple in Maryland, that they were professionals, and they couldn't get a proper appraisal for their house. And just because they're African, because they're black American, their house was less. The house would appraise almost near $1 million, but just because they're black, it was a black family, it has to be half of that, almost not even 400,000 from appraisal. And I said, man, that's crazy. Just because a complexion of someone's skin color. Now, this black couple have worked hard, being professional, being productive in society, and yet this is how I see where we are in the United States. There's some people that want to hide the racism in their mind, but it tends to come out in different ways. It used to be a time people used to talk into a code. The people who are racist, and some of them who are white, who are racist. They used to talk in a certain code, and they think that black people can't catch on things because the myth was black people are not educated, or they're hyper athletic or hyper musical, but they don't comprehend, or they don't catch on things. And they put they meet a certain stereotype of black people, and they label black people all the same. And other people from different nationalities, I believe, picked up on this too. And so it's like it's a totem pole effect. And the only way to punish the people with this inner racism is basically to punish them is basically you have to let God given the God gifted you to have your own and to work among your own. I have had a couple of videos on my Facebook about this one guy, Dr. Boy. Well, this one guy, Dr. Boyce Walking, blings on this man called Dr. Claude Anderson. And let me see if I can pull his picture up. And I don't, he was trying to tell people like any other group, African American, black people, some people like to call African Americans, but let's just say black Americans, that why don't you have those who get into position to have your own and build your own industry, and whether it's in financial, whether it's in manufacturing, and this is what you have to do. And he went to a city, and I was hearing him how he said, before the other nationalities of people that's around Detroit, that they were establishing things. You have people who were on council and they were black that told them that it would seem racist to have something particularly for black people. But other nationalities of people around Michigan do it all the time. Other people, but mainly they keep their business. They do business with other groups of people, but the money and the resources come back to their community. Whatever they contract with. If it's, let's say Middle Eastern people, Arab Americans, it don't matter they under the Arab American title, no matter they Lebanese, Syrians, Palestinians, different folks like that, even to the point that even someone like the Turks, people from Turkey will work with them, and they can slide up under and considered Arab American. There are Arab Americans that have in transportation. When I went to Michigan, they in different their insurance companies. They have their Arab Americans don't just own stores, but they own contracting companies. They have other businesses, doctors, lawyers, and things like that come out of the Arab American community. And they deal with other people, but mainly that they how they was able to form their own community. And some are educated, some are very educated, or second or third generation, and they fluctuate, and they build their own community. The Asian American community, particularly Chinese, the Japanese, the Koreans, have their own time. Koreatown have their own. China's with the Chinese have their own bank. They have and Chinese are in different areas of arena as far as business, IT, technology, just like your East Indian people, IT and technology, hospitalization, and you always. And one thing, even with the East Indians, the people that around that region, they in professions that they teach them to put them in at your social media sites, that they have IT running different major firms and things like that. and 9 chances out of 10, it'd be a whole sector of them, and they might bring on a European guy, a white guy, or an Asian guy. But most of them work among themselves, and they have their own thing. And even though it might be a few Caucasian white people that work into it because that's their profession, mainly the East Indians and different groups like that. I don't know. Some of them could be Pakistani, and it could be that part of that Asian group have their own community. They could put their own stuff together. The East Indians have hotels. The East Indians have like different ones like Pakistan East Indians. They have their own stores, gas stations, and that's just the entrepreneur side of the East Indians. They probably some in transportation, that haul products and things. Every group of people, and they hire and they bring to their own, and when they built up their own around one of near the best communities in America, and they learn the system out there among the wealthier white districts, and they take it back and they rebuild out there. The Arab Americans, the East Indians, I know stuff like this. So if they can do this, it's sad that you have black Americans who when they get in position, they don't want to do this for their own people. And then they made them feel mentally like a slave. Like, oh, you should be ashamed to want to work around your own people. But why these other people are doing their own people, and rightfully so? Are they prejudiced too? For one to help out and hire their own people, to teach their own people, to relate and connect to their own people. Even certain different groups of people that even among business, among your Caribbean and your Africans in America. One can start out as a tailor-made shop. They can put small business entrepreneurs selling cars and getting some kind of franchise going on. But when they put their money together, they teach their kids an ethic, and maybe I have one kid work with the other kid because they came from the same village or the same town back in their home country. Are they prejudiced for among one another when they keep the resources? And then when you go out into the predominantly rural areas of America, which is predominantly poor white, and what do you have? What kind of industries you have out there? The farming, the scrap metals, the manufacturing, things like that, and people that work out in the environment, and they get contracts and they work among each other, and things like that, and they build up their community. Some, teach them how push their young people, try to get them going to a trade. So, or some people, if they pass, why they probably working for their parents' business and pass the business now. There are some black Americans that a very small percentage are doing it, but it should be greater more. And really, why as I mention all these people is because you can learn from watching them and not judging them or putting them on the panel. But they do for themselves first to contribute what they do and what services they have to make the money off of mainstream people that look white and black and everything in between. But they think first. It's not like they give out and get something and don't feel, well, I got to give everything out before I'm able to make something, to survive something, and to take care of my own family. And take care of my own family, my people, my relatives, my community, and people who speak and look like or speak our language and who talk like this is like that. Even though that they interact with other people, the majority of people they interact with is among themselves. I've seen this. I've seen this around just in this little in Ohio, which is Columbus, which have every piece of a genre of people, and this is what I've noticed, and even going to different sectors of Columbus, Ohio here, like but your bigger major city have whole blocks and whole communities of people that they work among everybody, know everybody, like the Asian community, like the Chinese and the Koreans and the Japanese and different people like that they keep it in the community. I think black Americans need to come and heal you. Think of yourself first. One, I think the reason why some black Americans leave and go to other places because it's an eternal struggle, and even though something is the past of slavery, because like why can't these black people get over that? It ain't just white people. There's other people that say that. Well, you can't get over something that's been conditioned into people. You have black people conditioned to one another, and they did that from a time, not just here but in different parts of the world. Whereas black people, there's always that division and stuff. There's always that tribal stuff going on. You know, you got black people who don't even like each other because one is dark and one is light. One's educated, one's non-educated. And you think that one's going to get the greater over you than the other because you out there, you know, your parents work hard, they educated out in the suburb. But what it is that you might have got out of the hood or got maybe not in the poor rural area like your black counterparts in the rural area or in the city. But as a black man and woman and your child, you don't escape racism. You don't escape perception, assumption that your melanin in your skin is a threat. Your melanin is and it's not only is a threat. Is a threat. Is that it's perceived because TV has programmed people to think like this. And even though you're not the kind of person that they perceive, that they see somebody getting robbed and it happened to be a black individual that did a crime, people do see race. Majority of people, I say 80% of people see race. Maybe 20-30% see character. But most people see race. They see it in their eyes and they see it in their perception. Because one thing about television, they tell you is this old saying go, which is a true statement. They tell you their vision and they show you what the vision it is. And excuse me. They tell you their vision. So this is an honest thing. And some black people might relate to what I'm about to say is going to shock your mind. The reason why you should be among each other, because in mainstream society, and this can go for people that even look like you, and some people are not going to understand because they pick up the same spirit of other people because they think that because of what their status and what they name and who they associate with and what kind of community they come from, they think that they're better than you. And there might be some black people like that, but to the average poor, low working class black person, it can be it's like any other person. Here, remember the slogan. In America, you visible when they want you to be, but you still invisible. In other words, you visible when they want to be. Simon says, "I want to select you because I choose to acknowledge you." You invisible because of perception, because of what they've been shown and what they've been taught over centuries, and have taught even other people that picked up the nationality, pick up what they call the ideology of the total of the human race. People who are racist have a couple different forms of racism. You see, you'll race people who are racist, like the Klan, your skinheads. They're really radical side of it. You see them coming. You might the secondary. You might see the white nationalists, and that your calmer ones. But with the dangerous ones, you need to watch out for is the ones that smile, that try to be your friend, but they come into alliance, into agreement, that are racist people that we've been trying to do into extinction. It's still, if we can't lock them up, the only group, one of the groups of people in America that have tried this, so many experiments on, is black people. They have broken up the family. They try to dismasculate the male, emasculate the female, and push an agenda to slow down the population. And they did this. Now this is a kind of dangerous racism. When I talk about in the past about someone like a Margaret Sanger, that black church is welcome to, but she had an evil racist mentality of a eugenist. Saying a eugenist racist person is one of the most dangerous people on the planet, and you got some that is still walking this earth today. They can go into a population like Caribbean Africa and release something and do experiments on people because they feel like they go on the scientific, and it's scientific about how the people of the darker races are less valued. Hear what I'm saying? The people of the darker races are less valued. And even if you're handpicked by a selective. See, America have always been like this. They've been blacks, but they were hand-picked blacks. And so the hand-picked blacks think that they're among them. But the hand-picked blacks, when they come into the understanding that you're higher level of a servitude. What do I mean by that? I'll give you a good example. You know that the general attorney down there in Kentucky, the one with the Briones case, he's a hand-picked black man. And see, he has to go along and has to have the Eurocentric mindset as those people. So yeah, he's smart. We educate him. But soon, if he would come into his understanding, what about if something happened to one of his relatives that looked like him, and some racist person took one of his life, took one of their lives? How would he feel? And then come to find it could be one of his cousins. It could, and his cousin could be one is educated. But see, what these hand-picked black people like Daniel Cameron don't understand, you're still a Negro. You're still black. You have a lot of black people don't seem to understand this. No matter where you go, when you're on this land, No matter how high you get into politics, no matter how high you get in success, you're still black. You're a high-tech slave. Look at Bill Cosby. Before Bill Cosby had the Great Fall, he pissed off somebody. They desecrated him. Deshaun Watson, they desecrated him because they got to control you. Even though you make money, you're entertainer, but even among what they call, you hear the term white supremacy, right now they're fighting against each other. And the Most High is allowing this to happen. And the Most High is allowing this to be revealed because it's a spirit that's in this land among people, no matter if they're from the left or they're from the right. And you have black people, which really you don't count on either side. It's not your war. It's not your fight. You know, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican because it doesn't matter. Because when you understand, I come to an age of understanding. As a black man in this country, you're invisible. It takes a fair-skinned person, who we call a white person, to acknowledge, to see you. They got to make you visible, to acknowledge you, to bring you to the light. But see, this is how it is in this land. But the only one that can make us invisible is the Most High. The one that's going to put us to the top is the Most High. Because right now, even some of our people, as black people, are taught to think this way. And they agree with the oppressor. You got black people that agree, don't even like other black people because of their skin tone, their education status. And they've been taught that we're better than those city blacks. You're suburban black. You're educated. You have a certain name. But if I take you as an educated black and put you in some across American town, and I don't care how proper English you speak or whatever, you're still black. If you go out into the small towns, to Indiana, to all the way to the Oregon coast, someone's going to remind you, you're still black. You're still black. It don't matter if you're Donald Trump Republican or Joe Biden Democrat, you still black. Because one thing about this country, you're going to come across people, when you have Karens and Kens, when you have a conflict with them, and might have it, whatever it may be, which I showed videos earlier, it's not about being Democrat, it's not being about color, it's the subconscious of skin that has been embedded into this nation. And sometimes I cry for tears and with joyful other black men and women to get out of part of America and go to some place in vacation to get away with it and have the resource. I don't hate on those that go to some place and do, because at least you are mentally free from being conditioned. And the ones who one day decide to leave America and go and expat and live, I understand why you're doing it. And it's sad that even some black people don't understand that, because they've been mentally conditioned by the history of they say, well, why can't they just get over it? You can't get over in the place that you're conditioned from both sides, that you have the oppressor that's taught that the oppressed people, the darker people on the planet, is less than human. There are some people, not all that taught like that, but there's some people when they see black, why do you hate black people so much? Because there's a disdainment, there's a jealousy, there is hatred, because it goes back centuries and centuries. You probably go all the way back to the Bible. This is why you hear a lot of us black people going into the Bible, saying that some are coming to the understanding of being Hebrews. Some have left Christianity. Is because they're coming back to understand that it's not about when we get on top we're going to oppress you. No, No, God is reminding you, you're my first, but you are a human being. You're not visible to be invisible because it's simply because the complexion of your skin. Are you hearing me? So, but one thing that black people got to do is that some of us got to do is got to deprogram that. If you decide to leave America, you're gonna have to find a way to help God to help you deprogram, because we've been conditioned for 400 years to think that when we go out, you don't want to carry that spirit to another part of another country, and it has to be left here. This is deep what I'm telling you. Is it America red, white, blue, and apple pie? Yes, it's red, white, blue, and it's apple pie. Which is the good part about it, but there's some ugly part about it. No matter how and one thing Dr. Claude Anderson said, black people are the most patriotic, black Americans are the most patriotic people. It's like we invisible till somebody, a white person, tells your story to make you visible. That's the truth. People see color. And it don't matter if it's two white people disagreeing, I'm left wing, right wing. The overall people, they can't stand each other for whatever reason. But they have one thing in common. The totem pole race. And you, like for example, this, why I've been kind of going about abortion. There's power in numbers. People are scared, people are afraid when it comes to complexion of the skin. What complexion of the skin is going to dominate the most? So what they did was, so this is the argument among the left and the right, and this and even though there's other races of women, and black people got to be right along with that crowd like some other people do, but mainly it started with the white community. And there's one part of the white community know that they go into existence because they lose population and they lose the genetics and they lose, and some white people do not, they want to keep their family traits that look like them, like some black people do and like other people do. And they'll tell you we're not racist, but there's some white people that do. When they look down through their generations from their great grandma to their present baby, they see themselves. So that bothers them. So you got some people that's super liberal on the other side saying that has been possessed demonically, just say, well, I want to have influence out of a traditional relationship, and if I choose to open my legs and get pregnant and then lay down, now this is why this is the conflict. And St. James, why is that? Because those white men in Washington D.C. and different states, they don't want to see their population drop to other races of people. It was conditioned for the darker races. Abortion was conditioned for the darker races. It wasn't basically put on health. It was put as an experiment with black women and probably Native American women too, and probably trying to do that with Latino women. But mainly they came with because black women were having greater babies. So it's almost like it was the same situation like it was in the Bible. If you got all these black women having all these babies, they're gonna have more. There's gonna be more of us and more of them. That's one. So, and then one thing I listen to some black people. Black people have melanin, so when a black person get with anybody, melanin is put into it. So melanin dominate. And I know it's going to sound crazy to some people, but it says once you sit down and really think about that, this is what the people who are not your not your people are outgoing racists. These your selective racist people. These your eugenics, and they see people. They see picture down the road. So this was playing in the politics, and it's playing in everything. That's what you see going out. We were under the judgment, and even in the midst of a judgment, because you see the land with the floods, the water, the fires, because they and unfortunately people in high places try to push this propaganda, and I'm not falling for the right or the left. But one thing I learned before if you're a black person, come back to black people, before you go left and before you go right, whether you're Republican or Democrat, you better be black first. Because if you don't, you are invisible to a white person without, and you're conditioned to be like this, like some other nationalities. You can condition to think you're visible until a white person make you visible. And that's something that's within our race of people. And God is coming into His hour to make us visible, not by complexion, not by man. But if He uses man, He's going to use the righteous man of the people who are people. If they are white, they're going to have a righteous spirit, and they're going all the way through that they see what God's talking about. And there might be some white people that might agree with this when it comes to what I'm saying. It may sound strange to some people, but think about what I'm telling you. So that ain't got nothing to do with being Democrat. Ain't got nothing to do with being Republican. It has nothing to do with any part of your religion. You look at you in a country that goes by the complexion of your skin. It's like, remember our grandmother talk about the brown paper bag. It still exists. They choose you when they choose you, and then if they can't choose you, and with darkness it's light and dark. It's not with light and dark with people. It's that they got to train you to think like them. The supremacy is to train you to think and look at them as gods. That's why you want some people wants to be around them. Black people, you want to be them, even if it means tearing your own people down, disdaining each other, because you're thinking better than one another. You're not better than one another, no matter what status and education you got. Bill Cosby and different black individuals should have showed you. You're visible. They will like you, but they would destroy you. You're visible to be invisible. Remember this statement, what I'm saying, and I hope one day this catches on. When it comes to black Americans, there are some white people, some white people choose to put you invisible when really in the eyesight you invisible, and for various reasons. Now some people who are white, like any other people, may treat you like, you might love you like a human being, but you're gonna come across somebody. Don't think that, and this is, don't think that everybody's gonna, that first person is gonna love you and love you like Christ. Love you, that's God given to you, and it just happened to be a white person. Not all white people are gonna look at you that way, and it could be even in their own household. It could be among their own friends, and they don't. And sometimes maybe they won't see it because of the demographic of who they're around. It's the demographic on who they can relate to. And the only time they get to know people when they see people on TV, the television, and word of mouth. This is an honest discussion on race relationships in America. This is the real deal. This is my view. But this is what I come to grow over time. That what I've experienced personally, I'm glad, I experienced some things in the city, and I see the real when I got to the suburbs, and I got to be around them, and I got to be around the real part of them when some people who say that they're not, and you're their toy. You're not their friend. You're their black friend. You're an animate object, and to be amused. And you'll see the signs. Maybe if you're black, you've probably been through this. Not saying it all, but you gotta understand. You're visible till you're invisible. That's why I don't play the politic game. It doesn't matter if you're a Trump. It doesn't matter. If you look at both of them, they came from communities that they had their own bias and their own prejudice towards people in the beginning. Trump had black people that he had put out the bill. His daddy did. Felt that they were less desirables. Biden did the same. That it was crime when the time during both of them had to disagree. Both were agreed that when the Central Park jogger got raped, and those young men are innocent now. Donald Trump won. They cut their head off. Biden, I feel like there was two white men on the agreement, even though they can't stand each other right now. Watch what I'm saying. Whether they left or whether they right. Watch what I'm saying. They saw color. They saw color. And when Biden tells you you ain't black unless you vote for me, then there was a video that showed him when they was inaugurating Clarence Thomas, which I know a lot of people don't like Clarence Thomas for their own reason, but he couldn't stand a black man that was run to be a judge because he disdained. You should have seen when he was interviewing him during the time when he needed help. It doesn't. They have the mindset. How dare this Negro, a Negro, who have the same education and opportunities. My daddy told me they were less than. I was supposed to pick up a rock and throw him and hit one in the back of the head. That's reality. Both of them come from a place like that. Because you gotta think about when they was growing up, most of the people, their friends that look like them. Most of the people, and they might have one black person that was made the scenery. And not until they got to mainstream, that's when they had to reveal the real side. And you have a lot of people like that. I was friends with some people that acted like that. Some that were white. Some that I thought were cool. Some gonna flip on. But when you say first you good, till you get over there, and you get behind the doors, and you find out what it's really about. Boy, your people are really something. You out there, they might joke, hey man, why don't you come out? You come closer to the light. We having a fire. You too dark. I'm gonna teach you certain